Hi guys, Viking Reefing here. I was watching a bit of YouTube whilst I was eating my breakfast this morning, and I came across a video made by another YouTube creator that I frequently watch called Treasure Corals. It was him detailing all of his fish, and I quite often get asked about my stock list, so I thought, well, let's steal his idea and do something similar. So my thought is that I'll show off each and every fish that I've got and just briefly talk a little bit about them. If you think I missed anything and you want to know some more about a specific fish, please write down in the comments. I do have some care guides on my YouTube channel here, but if there's a specific fish that you can't find a care guide for, I'll be happy to make one if enough of you wants me to. Before we get into this, I would really appreciate it if you would hit the like button and perhaps even the subscribe button. Well, that's about it. Let's get into it. So, who do we pick first? Let's go with the Copperband Butterfly. This guy. I've had him for about 4 or 5 years at this point. He's a very well-behaved fellow. He doesn't mess with anything in the reef tank. The only things I've seen him pick at were rock flower anemones, which basically stands to reason, since they are quite good at eating Anthias as well. And of course, he hid behind some rocks. Perfect. When it comes to copperbands, where is he? There. When it comes to copperbands, this isn't the easiest fish to keep. They require a very large tank with a lot of lime rock, which has tons of pods and worms on it. You can see here, is constantly searching for food. I see a lot of people having difficulty with them. I think a lot of it stems from basically keeping them in too small tanks with not enough biodiversity and not enough life in them. They can be very tricky to feed as well. I find that bloodworms or frozen or live blackworms are a very good option into enticing them. Oysters can also be a very good option if nothing else works. Moving on to the Moorish Idol, I have a full care guide on these guys here on my channel. I added him, I think, about a month ago now, and he's doing great. He's feeding on everything that I feed the tank, both pellets, flakes, and frozen foods. There were some initial aggressions coming from the Achilles Tang, but that seems to be in the past now. He gives the idol, well, a bit of chase every now and then, but nothing major. They are, in my opinion, quite reef safe, even though I hate to use that term, because I think it means nothing. I've never seen one of my idols pick at anything. Not even LPS. I had one idol pick at a Montipora a long time ago, but that was about it. This is also quite a advanced fish to keep. The major issue with idols is that you need a very large tank, and they burn through food like nothing else. You need to feed these guys at least 4 times a day. I feed this tank about 6 times a day. That really helps them stay on weight. And they also need a lot of sponge in their diet, which can be kind of annoying to provide them with. I feed my guy both Angel Formula, frozen, from Ocean Nutrition, and sponge pellets from Pantaray. And I also grow some sponge on live rock in my sump, which I occasionally put down here. Another fan favorite, so to speak, is the Achilles Tang. Another quite advanced fish. Well, they're not really advanced, so to speak. I mean, they are quite easy to keep. All you need is a very large reef tank, such as this, because they need their swimming room. They need tons of flow, because they come from the surf zone, so they really need some strong flow to feel comfortable. I find also if that if you turn off the flow, they instantly turn super aggressive for whatever reason. Strong flow also provides a lot of oxygen, which they'll need. Again, they come from the surf zone, and they need a lot of algae in their diet. And also they need to be fed fairly frequently because they're benthic feeders. They swim around constantly and picking at the rockwork. My guy is super aggressive towards new fish. He's a really pain in the butt when it comes to introducing new fish into this tank. But once the fish are established, there's no issue with them. We got a couple of angels here. This, oops, scared the crap out of him. This is the Majestic Angel. A very easy angel to keep. I've never had any issues with them. I believe they are now tank raised or tank bred even. I'm not sure which. They basically eat everything that you put into the tank. You really shouldn't have any issues with them. I never had any issues with them, with corals either. Just a great angel overall. I think I've had this guy for at least 3 years at this point. If we keep on the angel tray, we shall have a look at the, come on, Regal Angel right here. This is another species that a lot of people seems to be struggling with. The autofader is bound to turn on any second now. You can see all of them congregating below it. The major issue with Regal Angels is that they're quite timid, so you really don't want to introduce one into a tank with a lot of really established angels and tangs. Also, they need sponge in their diet, just like the Moorish Idol. If they don't get that, they just won't do well. There are a couple of varieties of Regal Angels. There's the blue or gray-breasted one that generally comes from Indonesia. They tend not to do as well as the yellow or orange-breasted ones from the Maldives or the Red Sea. I don't really think there's a major difference in terms of the actual fish, but I think handling practices are a lot better when they come from the Red Sea or from the Maldives, so just don't get as beaten up in the supply chain. What else? We have my Imperator Angel. This is a juvenile. He is transitioning into a subadult. I've had him for about 6 months. I got him when he was a tiny little fish, and he's really been packing on the weight. He has started like grunting and stuff as well, which is very funny to hear. This is actually the first Imperator I've ever kept, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him transition into the full adult colors. Does fine with corals as well. Keep in mind these guys get really big, so I'd say that this size of a tank, which is 1,000 liters, is basically the smallest that you would want to keep one of these guys in. Staying on the angel train, we have the Goldflake Angel here. This is probably the tank bully. He is a real butthole. I can see he's picking on the SPS. All the angels are constantly picking on the SPS, but that's not an issue. That happens in the wild as well, and they can handle it fine. If anyone says otherwise, they are wrong. This is actually a captive bred one. I believe it's from Aquarium. I normally don't like captive bred fish, especially not the ones that are bred in a huge quantity. I find their colors to be kind of off, and generally they're less hardy in my opinion, but these guys are still not really mass produced, so I find them to be fine. There's no wonky colors or body shapes on them either, so that's very nice. This is an adult. It will get a bit bigger, but I think now he's really going to be kind of slow in terms of growth. He might grow, say, 3 or 4 centimeters more from this point, but not a lot more than that. What else? I have 5 Bimaculatus Anthias here. This is a female. That's a male. I have an issue, as you can see here. This guy transitioned into a male, and this was the old resident male. I will be removing him probably today and put him in my quarantine tank, because the new male is actually bullying the crap out of him, I've noticed, which is kind of annoying. I'd say that these Bimaculatus Anthias are probably the best Anthias that you can get. They are freaking beautiful. They look a lot better than the lyre-tails, and they are very easy to take care of. Just feed them a bunch of times during the day, and they should do great. I don't find them to be sensitive whatsoever. There are some Anthias, like the Purple Queens or the Avances, that can really take a pounding in the supply chain, and they generally don't really acclimate well to captive life. I don't really believe those species are a problem in and of themselves, but like the Regal Angel from Indo, they just take a heap of beating once they are shipped to us in the hobby. I have 1 Dispar Anthias. No, I have 2 Dispar Anthias. I had 3. One of them unfortunately jumped out at one point or another. Also a fairly large, fairly easy Anthias to keep. They are a little bit more sensitive than the Bimaculatus Anthias, I'd say, but not a major worry whatsoever. Most people, provided that you feed them a lot, should be able to keep these things as well. This is my blue tang. Purple tang, sorry. Why are they called purple tangs? They are blue. Anyways, this is my purple tang, called Svea. My wife gave him that name because the Swedish flag is blue and yellow, which this guy is as well. I think he's about 6 or 7 years old, or her, not sure who or what this guy is. And yeah, they are quite an aggressive tang, not as bad as any Arcanthurus tangs whatsoever, but it's worth keeping in mind that if you're planning to keep multiple tangs, this might be one of them that you wanted to add last into your tank, really. This is a Truncatus tang. I really wanted a cold tang, but due to the issues with Hawaii being shut down, I got this one majorly, bombed by the Anthias, majorly for algae control. Not much to say about this guy. They don't get really large. He's quite peaceful, and he'll just swim around your tank, pecking at algae all day long. I do have a lyre-tail Anthias as well, by the way. This guy. This is probably the fattest Anthias in the world or something. I had a bunch. This is the oldest one. It's probably upwards to 6 years old, I think. This used to be a female, which has kind of transitioned into a male, but like some of them do, it kind of got stuck in the transition for whatever reason. So it's half and half. It has female colorations, but male characteristics, which is kind of funny. I have 2 of these yellow chorus wrasses. I mainly have them for pest control. They're kind of funny. They bury in the sand during the evenings, and they really don't do a whole bunch. They mainly just swim around, pecking at stuff. And yeah, super easy fish to keep. I'd probably keep one in any tank that I have. Speaking of fish, which is for pest control, I have 4 of these spring-ray damsels. They're quite funny little guys. I mainly have them for flatworm control, if I would ever get any like egg-eating flatworms or anything like this in this tank. I've noticed that they do squabble quite a lot, so you probably need, if you want to keep multiples, I think you would need to have quite a large tank to keep a group of them. When I had them in my quarantine tank, which is 200 liters, I had 5. They beat the crap out of each other. So probably want a fairly large tank to keep a bunch of them. I have 3 of these guys. I believe they're called striped sleeper gobies or something like that. They are very good at eating cyano, actually. They're not really good at sifting sand, unfortunately. But I basically have 3 of them just to keep cyano at bay. Behind it, you can see a Valencia strigata. I added this a couple of days ago because I wanted more working fish in the tank. Help me with my sand bed, keeping it clean. He really hasn't started sifting the sand overly much. He's eating fine and everything, but I guess he might just be lazy or something. Pretty good fish. They have a tendency to grab a mouthful of sand and swim upwards, which is kind of an annoying habit since they'll blow sand all over your tank. But apart from that, they're pretty sweet to have in your tank. This guy hates the camera. He always freaks out when I try to film him. This is a Melanurus wrasse. I also have him for pest control. They are beautiful. I think this is one of the fish that would offer the best combination of price and color that you can find in the hobby. They are very cheap, and they just look like an explosion of color. So I would really recommend one of these guys for, well, basically any tank that's large enough to house one of them. If you heard that, that's my daughter running around. I have my 2 clowns here. They are both Ocellaris clowns. The large one up top is a wild-caught female, and the small one below her is a captive bred male. If the female would just come out, I could show you a bit, maybe. I like the wild-caught clowns a lot better than the captive bred ones. Their body shape looks a hell of a lot better. They generally grow a bit larger as well. I think their colors are nicer, since they haven't been selectively bred to have a lot of white, like the captive bred male is. And overall, it's a nicer fish, in my opinion. Oh, let's see if I can video this guy. I do have a cleaner wrasse here as well. He just shoots around the tank and kind of cleans the tangs and angels all day. I find having one of these guys in your tank kind of reduces aggression for whatever reason. As soon as I put him in here, a lot of the aggression that I saw between my fish kind of just dissipated overnight because, well, I guess they provide something to for the fish to focus on, except squabbling in amongst themselves. Lastly, I have a Bangai Cardinal back here. This is probably the oldest fish that I have in my tank. I guess this guy is about 8 years old or something. And it's kind of starting to show on him. I can see some like abscences on his body. The colors are getting a bit duller. And the fins kind of getting frayed. So I don't think this guy has too long left to live, unfortunately. I believe their general lifespan is around 3 to 4 years or something like that. And this guy has well surpassed that. They are great fish. I used to have a female as well, but unfortunately she croaked about 3 years ago, which is more their natural lifespan. I've tried adding a second female to him, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, he got pissed and killed her, so that was kind of annoying. And that's all my fish. No, it actually isn't. I have a Valencia Melanurus as well. He was hiding in beneath some rocks and just wouldn't come out for whatever reason. It's a sand sifter. I've shown him off in previous videos. Great little guy. I think those are probably the best sand sifters that you can get for your tank, because they're very efficient at sifting the sand, and they don't really just swim up and carpet bomb your corals with the sand that they have in their mouth. I've tried adding one more, but unfortunately I haven't been able to pair them up. So the resident guy that I have in my tank here has been bullying the newcomer relentlessly. So I've basically just caught the new edition and gave it away to a friend or something like that. Tried a couple of times. I hope you liked this more kind of vlog style video, where I just point and shoot and talk a bit. Like I said in the intro, if you have any questions regarding my tank or its inhabitants, please post them down below. I would be very happy if you would find it in your heart to give me a like and perhaps even a subscribe. Well, that's it. Have a good one. Bye.